Robbins was born on July 22, 1932, in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, to George Thomas Robbins and Catherine Bell Robinson. Both of his grandfathers were Baptist preachers. The Robbins family resided in Blowing Rock before moving to Warsaw, Virginia, when the author was still a young boy. In adulthood, Robbins has described his young self as a hillbilly. Robbins attended Warsaw High School, class of 1949, and Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia, where he won the Senior Essay Medal. The following year he enrolled at Washington and Lee University to major in journalism, leaving at the end of his sophomore year after being disciplined by his fraternity for bad behavior and failing to earn a letter in basketball. In 1953, he enlisted in the Air Force after receiving his draft notice, spending a year as a meteorologist in Korea, followed by 2 years in the Special Weather Intelligence Unit of the Strategic Air Command in Nebraska. He was discharged in 1957 and returned to Richmond, Virginia, where his poetry readings at the Rhinoceros Coffee House led to a reputation among the local bohemian scene. In late 1957, Robbins enrolled at Richmond Professional Institute, RPI, a school of art, drama, and music, which later became Virginia Commonwealth University. He served as an editor and columnist for the college newspaper, Proscript, from 1958 to 1959. He also worked nights on the sports desk of the Daily Richmond Times-Dispatch. After graduating with honors from RPI in 1959 and indulging in some hitchhiking, Robbins joined the staff of the Times-Dispatch as a copy editor. In 1962, Robbins moved to Seattle to seek an MA at the Far East Institute of the University of Washington. During the next 5 years in Seattle, minus a year spent in New York City researching a book on Jackson Pollock, he worked for the Seattle Times as an art critic. In 1965, he wrote a column on the arts for Seattle magazine as well as occasionally for Art in America and Art Forum. Also during this time, he hosted a weekly alternative radio show, Notes from the Underground, at non-commercial KRAB-FM, Seattle. It was in 1967, while writing a review of the rock band The Doors, that Robbins says he found his literary voice. While working on his first novel, Robbins worked the weekend copy desk of the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. Robbins would remain in Seattle, on and off, for the following 40 years. Michael Dare described Robbins' writing style in the following manner. When he starts a novel, it works like this. First he writes a sentence. Then he rewrites it again and again, examining each word, making sure of its perfection, finally honing each phrase until it reverberates with the subtle texture of the infinite. Sometimes it takes hours. Sometimes an entire day is devoted to one sentence, which gets marked on and expanded upon in every possible direction until he is satisfied. Then, and only then, does he add a period. Over the course of his writing career, Robbins has given readings on 4 continents, in addition to the performances that he has delivered at festivals from Seattle to San Miguel de Allende. Robbins also read at Bumbershoot in 2014. Robbins was a friend of Terence McKenna, whose influence appears evident in a couple of his books. A main character, Larry Diamond, in Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas advocates a theory similar to those of McKenna involving the history and cultural influences of psychedelic plants. Robbins also spent time with Timothy Leary, and the author has said that one of the protagonists in Jitterbug Perfume, Wiggs Danner Boy, exhibited certain characteristics of Leary's personality. Robbins is acknowledged using LSD with Leary. He was friends with Gus Van Sant, and performed the voiceover narration in Van Sant's film adaptation of Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. He has been friends with directors Robert Altman and Alan Rudolph, as well, and has had small speaking parts in 5 feature films. Robbins' death was announced by his wife, Alexa Robbins, on Facebook. The post did not cite a cause. His son Fleetwood also confirmed the death but did not cite a cause, the New York Times reported. The author died at his home in La Conner, Washington.